See if I can just... Ooh, got spanked. He's got spanked on the lead core. Oh, he's still there. Fish on, baby. Stay on the line. Got him. Nice. Lead core. Second fish on the lead core today. Well, that's a little bit better fish there, guys. That is on the hammered gold Trigger Spoon Jr. I got my dad on the phone. Seems like every time my dad calls me, I hook up. I got to have him call me every 15 minutes when I'm in the kayak. That would be awesome. So, seriously, Davis, Elminor, every time Dad calls me, it seems like I hook a fish, which is great. So, anyway, that fish was 9 feet deep on the gold spoon. I just told my dad, I said I'm back in another bay here, and I saw a fish break a couple 100 yards away. I headed in that direction, and right there, he hit it once, he missed it, and he hit it again, and now he's on the hook. Oh, that's a nice fish. Okay, and of course, you guys know I forgot the net today. It's a beautiful fish. Oh, Lucy just spotted him. So he's just kind of gliding along. I'm going to lift him into the kayak. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Into the kayak he goes. You can see he just barely nipped at that, but he got enough of that red hook to hook him, hold him, and he is going on the stringer with his buddies. There you go. Trigger Spoon Jr., baby, getting it done. Howdy folks, Cal Kellogg here. Well, the ISE show in Sacramento is over. I had a brutal cold, but I am feeling better. I'm still a little congested, but I'm feeling much better. I've been out fishing, and actually I'm working on a computer today, but I thought this would be a good time to do a Northern and Central California trout fishing report, so I grabbed my selfie stick, and here we go. Let's start out with some of the marquee destinations around the region here, around the Sacramento region, and then I'm going to kind of round it out with some of the more obscure lakes and just some general trout fishing advice for this time of the year. For starters, you know, the end of January is typically a tough time to fish for trout, and that's kind of holding to be true. You know, some lakes are fishing very slow, some lakes are providing fair action. There are some good fish up for grabs, but you know, in comparison to other years, our late winter season isn't bad. We've had a fair amount of rain, but we haven't had the intense rain that really makes the lakes get muddy. A lot of lakes are rising. For example, I was out at Rollins Lake a couple times over the last week, and that lake is coming up significantly every day, but it's not coming up so fast that the water's muddy. Clarity is very good. In addition to the rising water, we've seen a spike in temperatures. You know, it's warmer than it usually is in Northern California at this time of the year. And we've seen that spike in temperature extend to the lakes we fish. Once again, Rollins Lake has come up 2 degrees over the last week, and that's pretty significant for this time of the year. And, you know, a rising water temperature in late winter does nothing but improve the fishing, whether you're fishing for trout, bass, catfish, whatever. A rising water temperature, you know, can really kick things into gear when the water's cold. I mean, at Rollins, my first trip out there, the water temperature was 43. I was out there yesterday, the water temperature was 46. So that's a pretty significant rise, you know, for the fish. And it's kind of the difference between, you know, lethargic fish and not so lethargic fish. They're feeling a little more frisky. They got to feed a little more. They're a little more aggressive. So anyway, let's start off with Lake Amador. Amador, the trout plants are robust. They're planting some really big fish in the lake. The fishing is fair to good depending on the day, and there have been some impressive fish caught. A guy named Ken Terry, he was out there the other day. He was trolling speedy shiners, and he got 5 fish over 3 pounds, including one fish, and you're seeing that picture on the screen right now, one fish that was over 11 pounds. It was an absolute monster. Now, other guys are going out there and they're getting skunked. So, you know, Amador, the fish are there. The question is, will they bite when you are at the lake? And there's only one way to find out. That's to visit the lake, give it a shot, and you might be Mr. Terry there with a big old 11-pound trout. You never know. You don't know unless you try, that's for sure. Right next door to Amador is Lake Comanche. Now, The trout bite at Comanche's been pretty consistent. It's been consistent for guys that are fishing in the ponds, and it's been consistent for guys trolling the main lake. Guys in the main lake, in addition to trout, why they're picking up some crappie and some bass as well. And the crappie they've been picking up, they're big fish, all the way up to 2 pounds. So that's always a nice bonus if you're out trolling for trout and you end up with a big old crappie or two, especially a 2-pound crappie. That's a huge crappie. So anyway, at least for Northern California, that's a huge crappie. So that's a real bright spot in our winter fishing. Lake Comanche, it's fishing well. It's pretty consistent. Bank guys are getting fish too in the main lake. You know, you go out there, soak power bait, soak worms, hang out with the old retired guys on the bank there. They're doing pretty well. Again, depends on the day, but definitely worth the effort. Collins Lake, heavily planted this fall. Plants are on a bit of a hiatus right now, but they're going to kick back in soon. But there are still some very impressive fish around. They've caught several fish over 5 pounds over the last, say, 3 weeks. Almost all the action, though, at Collins Lake is happening for bank anglers, soaking either worms or power bait, and most of the really, really big fish have come on worms. I'm talking about fish in the 7 to 9 to 10 pound range. Most of those fish are coming on worms, either inflated and floated off the bottom or drifted under a bobber. So that's a great place to go if you're looking to go big. You're probably not going to get a limit out there right now, but you have a good chance of catching a big fish. They're out there, they're swimming around, they're near the bank, and for whatever reason, lures, trolling, not working as well as soaking bait. Let's kind of round out our marquee destinations with a little talk about Folsom Lake. Now, I was out there the other day and I got skunked hard. I hooked one, felt like a small trout on a worm in the North Fork. I was fishing that worm naked, just rolling it slowly, about 28 feet deep. But before I could get the fish up and see what it actually was, popped off the hook. Other than that, zero action. Saw some pretty good marks. Now, but I couldn't get him to go. A guy named Rob Cooper, you probably see him on Facebook. He spends a lot of time out at Folsom. It's his home lake. He's been catching some bass. He's been doing some trolling. He's been getting into some good rainbows. He's putting in his time, but he's been getting some rainbows in the 19 to 20 inch class. And just yesterday or the day before, he was out there, he was trolling around, and he got I believe it was a 21-inch king salmon. Very impressive fish, beautiful fish. So there are some kings out and about. If you really want kings, Oroville. You've seen it online. You've read about it in a fish sniffer. Oroville's kicking out fish. Enough said about that. Go out there, troll around with some white hoochies, put some anchovy strips on them, grab some of my minnow tubes, troll those around, put some anchovy strips on there. Troll them behind a silver sling blade style dodger, and you are going to catch some fish. Just work the marks, watch your sonar, trust your sonar. If you can't get the deep marks to go at Oroville, move in, fish the structure, fish with faith. You're not going to mark those shallower kings, fish that are in the 30 to 50 foot range, but they are there, they're up on the structure, and if you troll that, put in your time, you're going to hook some fish. So, and they fight great, man. That Oroville's becoming a great king fishery, very exciting, some really large fish up for grabs, fish to 4 pounds, maybe even bigger, and they're growing right now. So that's going to continue to be good into the spring, so that's pretty exciting news. But, what I would advise you guys to do, a lot of those places, they're going to fish great right on into the spring and summer. Big, deep impoundments like Oroville, Shasta, even Folsom. We got a lot of time left at those fisheries to get out and catch some trout. The smaller fisheries, however, I don't know the numbers. I'm trying to get the numbers, and the DFW, they don't like to give out numbers about things like trout plants and where they're spending our money. But all my data, and it's all anecdotal, all my data suggests that trout plants are down, but right now is one of the times of the year when the DFW is planting some of the smaller, some of the more obscure lakes. And I got some top picks for you guys if you live in Central California or Northern California, some of the smaller lakes that have been planted. And you can get, if you Google DFW California trout plants, you're going to find the data portal, and it's going to tell you about the trout plants around our region, throughout the whole state, really. You'll see a lot of stuff for, Los Angeles and Tulare and stuff like that, but you also see the Northern California plants. Now, on the list, I noticed in our region, they're planting a whole bunch of fish at Folsom Lake. It's not translating to catches, but they are putting those fish in the lake. But and I am reading this. Here's some other top picks, some lakes that caught my eye. I just looked at it. I looked for the last month, so these lakes have all been planted in the last month, some of them multiple times. My number one pick, Lafayette Reservoir, for you guys down there in the Bay Area. That lake has been planted at least 3 times in the last month, and it's fishing pretty darn well. Small lake, it's in the city of Lafayette. Fun fishing, power bait, that kind of stuff. It's working well out there. Sugar Pine Reservoir, right down the street from my house. That's been planted. I have got no fishing reports. I'm hopefully going to head out there this week. I'm sure the fish are in there. They're biting. Like I said, you know, water temperatures are coming up a little bit, and I'm sure that any fish that are in Sugar Pine are looking to chomp right now. So me and Lucy, we're going to get the kayak out there later in the week, assuming it doesn't rain, and hopefully we'll be yelling fish on. Eastman Lake down in Mariposa County, that's been planted. It's booting out some trout. Rollins Lake's fishing very well. It was planted about 5 weeks ago. There are a lot of trout in the lake. They are up in the top 20. They are gorging on pond smelt. Lots of fun. Caught lots of fish up there. I was up there twice. I think my first trip I caught 17 fish. My last trip I had 20 plus out of the kayak. So very productive fishing. Very simple. Find the marks. Hammer them with spoons. My first trip I was using my trigger spoons. Yesterday I was out there using my my speed spoons and doing very well. So that's a very viable option for guys in the Sacramento area that have, you know, access to Highway 80. Moving back to the Bay Area, you know, Lake Chabot, San Pablo Reservoir, those lakes get a lot of press, but I'll tell you where there's a lot of good trout to be had right now is Lake Temescal, right there kind of above Oakland and Berkeley. That's a real sleeper. It's planted in the wintertime, and the fish can be very good. So if you're down there in the East Bay, North Bay, something like that, and you want to get out, you don't want to go to Lake Chabot or Lake Del Valle, take a run up to Temescal. You know, there's a trail around the lake. You could throw cast masters, standard trout baits, dough baits, stuff like that. The fish are there, the water temperature's right, and you should be able to score, you know, a limit or a near limit of trout. Finally, for you guys over there in the kind of in the Clear Lake region, Upper Blue Lakes has been planted. For guys that live over there, that always creates a lot of midwinter excitement when they plant that lake. I've never fished the lake, but I know a lot of guys get pretty excited about that. I've had guys send me emails and stuff about it. So you can troll it, you can bait fish it, you can do pretty much anything. Standard stuff, man. They're government trout, they're rainbows, and whatever you prefer to use for them, go over there, do some experimenting, and you should be able to put together enough fish for a nice fish dinner. Anyway, that's kind of my perspective. You know, we got great days ahead on places like Shasta and Elminor, Davis, and all the rest. You know, my destination fisheries, my places I go to catch big fish, and lots of them. But right now, midwinter, access is poor at some places. You know, other places the fish are kind of lethargic. But take advantage of the DFW plants. Get on that website, see where they're planting fish. You know, there's fish throughout Sacramento. All the park ponds pretty much have been planted. There's more plants in the future. So there are a lot of options for trout, guys. Think out of the box a little bit. Hit those small waters. Enjoy them while the fish are in there. Enjoy them while the DFW is planting. And then later on in the spring, man, we'll be hitting those more iconic destinations like, you know, Davis, Frenchman, stuff like that, some of those others I mentioned. Anyway, it's a great time of the year to be outside as long as it's not raining. You know, we got beautiful weather. It's a little chilly here, but I've seen it a lot chillier in late January. Anyway, that's kind of the size of it, guys. Oh, last thing. If you want to get some kokanee, there's 2 places that are already kicking them out. Bullard's Bar, bites red hot. The limit is 10 per day. They're dinky. I'm not going to lie to you. 10, 11 inches. Look good in the smoker. They're not going to break your rod or anything, but there's a lot of them. They are feisty. They're ready to bite. So if you want some kokanee meat, get on over there. And Whiskey Town, kind of the same thing. They're going to be a lot bigger at Whiskey Town, but they're bigger than the fish that are being caught at Bullard's Bar. Your average kokanee up there is probably, you know, 12 to 13 inches. I've heard of some 14 inches, but kind of the same thing. Angler interest is low. The kokanee are very feisty. They're very willing to bite. So you can get on up there if you live in the north state. Get up there and get a limit of kokanee and, you know, get the smoker going. So anyway, I'm Kel Kellogg. I'm signing off for now. get out, take advantage of this weather. Who knows what the winter is going to do? We got about 6 more weeks of winter kind of conditions up here in the Sierras. You just don't know what's going to happen. The rain could kind of pinch out. It could get very cold. It could stay warm. It could get exceptionally wet. Who knows? Who knows how long winter's going to go on? But when winter gives way to spring, look out. It's going to be a great 2020. Anyway, if you haven't had a chance to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. And if you're looking for some trout tackle for spring, get on over to the Fish Hunt Shoot Productions store. Stock up for your spring fishing, man. We got spoons. We got trigger spoons, juniors, trigger spoons. Next week, we're going to launch my newest spoon, my speed spoon, plus all the other kits and rods and all that kind of stuff. Stuff I believe in and stuff that I offer up at a fair price. Anyway, guys, thanks for all the support, and hopefully I won't sound all congested on my next video. Anyway, I'm Kel Kellogg. Thanks a lot, guys, and I will catch you next time. Have a great day.